We need this.
Yeah. Tell me what's the point of doing life alone? Swings and merry-goes don't feel the same. No. I know it's hard to trust when you've been hurt before, but I wanna be the one to share that pain. Oh yeah, take my hand and walk with me. Yeah. On the road that never...
Welcome to At the Table. In this video segment, we're going to be talking about what is it like to be a part of a bigger story. I think that's what gives us meaning in life, gives us purpose, and what motivates us is to know that we're part of something bigger, that our story is being incorporated into God's story. And so as you listen to this conversation, listen for that as well. How is your story connected to the bigger story? And how are you being invited to live that story out where you are? Sounds like that's getting back to what John Wesley found.
Oh, now you're messing around. Yeah. It's kind of what he
said about that, Dwayne.
Yeah.
That's significant.
Because Wesley was not into sectarianism. He was more focused on discipleship, connecting people together, and that's why. Just going back to connection is part of it's just in our DNA. And, it allows churches to be uniquely who they are, but at the same time, look around at all that we can do together and say, hopefully collectively, wow, look what we did from this tiny town or this tiny church out in the middle of a cornfield to the suburban church. Wow, we were part of this. We're part of something bigger than just our community. So it's
Wesley actually fought against. He was very opposed to starting a church.
Right.
People find it sometimes hard to believe. Well, wasn't he United Methodist? Wasn't he Methodist? No, he was an Anglican priest till the day he died. Because he resisted that. Here in the United States or the Americas or the new country, it was a little different. But he never envisioned that, and I think he never wanted to be part of that. He kind of tore down those walls, going out in the coal fields and so forth. So that's in our DNA.
A big pull against establishment, and I think, and I'm not going to play the generational card. I don't think that's it. However, I will learn from the youth that as they're in those high school years, they are in the most chaotic space of their life as they transition out of this childhood that they've known and into adulthood, and where are they going to go after they graduate? It's all fearful and chaotic. And so finding that space of establishing themselves with the culture and with the people, with the community, it's so important. It's life or death. And they're hunting for that. And they're looking for that. At what point do the rest of us, and again, not playing generational, but at one point do the rest of us find ourselves so established in whatever setting that we get so stuck there, that connectionalism, that hunt for that connection with others doesn't hold that same importance, or it feels sometimes even more like a threat to pull us from that established space that we're in.
I wonder if our young people, I start thinking about, I worry about them being connected, but are they more connected perhaps with people and friends than, we'll speak for me, we old guys, because they just seem to be, at least online, and when their social networks online and their friendships that way, they tend to seem to be, in my world, as I'm looking into them, a bit more vulnerable, a bit more open, and it seems almost like deeper friendships. Talking about those, my nephew-in-law, those friendships that he developed online since he was a kid, and here he's a 30-year-old man, and they've probably seen each other 5 times in their whole life, but they were thick. They knew the secrets, the fearful places with each other. So maybe it's some of us old people that don't get, there's probably a deeper, broader connection that we're aware of. And maybe we can mine that for the church, not just in youth, but begin to understand that Elon and Davis Street, those are our brothers and sisters. That's our people. They're our people. The Graham, those are our people. Emmanuel, those are our people. We're only separated by our worshiping community.
Let me give you a little bit of my own personal history. I was in Snow Camp at Bethel. But when I was there, we would cooperate with 2 other churches. And what we found was nobody left. They just really enjoyed working together even more. What we did between the 3 was we started to do like a sermon series together. I think one of the ones we did was Adam Hamilton's Enough. And so we would meet each week and we would go over, and we have a Bible study between the three churches and would rotate which church we were at. People loved it. And they began to see these churches in a very different way. They kind of knew of the people in those churches. Now they started to know them in ways that, like, what we found was our fears did not come true. You know, those fears you don't want to admit. What if they like the other pastor better than me and all that? None of that happened. None of it. Only the good things.
For some people, it's a fear. Others of us, it's just pure reality.
Right.
And you just live with it. Oh, they will. That's okay.
But if you could list the things you would be a little nervous about, none of them proved true. And if you list the things you genuinely hope would happen, those started to happen. Yeah. So there is at least a tiny test case. That wasn't once. We did community garden together. We did like 4 or 5 things together, and they just kept getting better. Ray and I have along the way thought, man, what if people could start to figure some of that out? You can't dive into it tomorrow and do all that, but you can do something and start to experiment there relationally. How can we actually be seen as, multiple campuses, not of one church, but multiple campuses connected? Actually, the stuff we talk about. So for whatever that's worth, that is part of the hope here in this conversation at the table today. Mm-hmm. So,
but it's interesting. I don't remember where I heard this. It might have been at a pastor convocation school several years ago, but it was pointed out to me that we are community before we're individuals. And I mean that as just a biological factor of life. Children come from a mother. Mm-hmm. So we are two before we're one. Mm-hmm. And the isolation that we have and that individualism that plagues our society is a learned habit that I think sometimes youth have a better window into community, sometimes because they're forced to do it. They have to go to school. They have to do these things. And so when you're at school and you don't want to be there, you make the best of it. You find people that have shared interests, and that spills out into other things and online groups. My kids are doing that right now. That's how they survive in summer. And do it. But, to see the church as a part of society that stands to be reminders that we are not isolationists. We are not individuals. We are meant to be community before that. Our identity, individual identity, only makes sense within a broader community. And the church stands as at least the potential reminder for that. And so the collective and connectionalism is really kind of spilling out of that desire. I think even if we don't name it for that, that's what we want. We at least intuitively know we're not meant to do this alone.
Yeah.
Our identity, individual identity, only makes sense within a broader community. And the church stands as at least the potential reminder for that. And so the collective and connectionalism is really kind of spilling out of that desire. I think even if we don't name it for that, that's what we want. We at least intuitively know we're not meant to do this alone.
Yeah.
And something that I think we've been intentional about, we're not competitive. I mean, we try really hard. We are collegial, and we present this kind of united front together. I think that's been important.
Yeah.
That we get along well, but to model friendship around the table to the congregation, so they don't have to feel like they're competing for anything with each other.
Yeah.
To kind of take down that wall that you mentioned about being competitive. That I think connectionalism at its best takes away that competitive nature.
Can I say something specifically about pastors? I think is interesting. I think it's much more endearing for a congregation to see pastors trusting the liking and admiring each other than to see pastors having to be the greatest among a group, right? Like if you, I can think of examples, right? But just imagining seeing somebody who's like comfortable with other people looking good around them, like, I really respect that person. Everybody knows that was the coolest person in school. We all wish we were like them. Like there is something to that. So
it seems to me that the best thing I can do is point somebody, oh my gosh, look at what they're doing. They're so awesome. They're so incredible. To me, that is much more fulfilling, potent, powerful, not only for the
So we're
community,
arguing-
but
We're arguing it works both ways.
Yeah, it's a
it works
reciprocal thing.
multiple
Yes,
ways,
right,
Like
right.
it's not just
Yeah,
just
no,
good
no.
for
That
it's
person.
a community seeing that. It's like I like that.
Yeah,
I respect you, and you get more of what you were hoping for.
Yeah,
actually,
exactly
From a
right.
selfish
Yes, the selfish
perspective,
right.
You're more respected.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually,
I think it's important at Front Street that they never hear any one of us say, he's associate, he's lead pastor. No, they hear we're pastors. We're all pastors in the same world. We all have different responsibilities, and we divide those up and work on those.
That's been a helpful part of my connectionalism and understanding connectionalism, because I get to go around and learn from the experiences of different churches. But then I know pastors who've been in this for a while, and they've been moved too quickly in a lot of scenarios when they felt like they were really starting to get to know the people and get into it. And they get stuck. That hurts.
You know what's popping in my head? Like this way that we're talking about is an antidote to some of that. If you could go anywhere and you knew you could be a part of a team there, if I could go there and I knew that we were connected, then maybe like, I'll go anywhere. Yeah, you had a thought.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that moving from place to place over the years, sometimes it doesn't. I'm so used to it now, but every now and then it'll hit me. Usually when a church member will ask me about my experiences and where I've lived and all this, and I'm like, man, you have moved so many places and to different communities, and it causes me to kind of pause a little bit and go, wow, I did this. I'm part of something that I never would have seen for myself. And there are so many resources available. Thank you, connectionalism.
Yeah.
That it just has been, for all the complaints that we may have about it, overall, at the end of the day, to me, it's a blessing.
I mean, for me, y'all have been in the system for years, and I've literally just stepped into it a few months ago. And to know that I'm not alone in the decision making and the struggles, it's more than just comforting. It is holy and satisfying to know that I'm surrounded by brothers and sisters who not only have the church's best interest at hearts, my best interest at hearts, but the discipleship community's best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And to see that I can treat this connectionalism not just as a parachute for something when things get chaotic and I need to, have something to bail me out, but something that is useful that will build up this kingdom in this tiny little space that I've got here and shatter some of those walls that, we've allowed to be built up by our own things like ego and fears and worries and things like that.
As I sat around the table with my other friends who are pastors in the Alamance County region, one of the things that struck me was being a part of this bigger story. And I felt comforted and invited to be who I was, and to know that it's okay to share struggles. One of the things that struck me about the conversation as well was knowing that we're not in competition with each other. That's an old model that is gone, and we're now living into a new model of collegiality, of partnership and friendship. And so I'm excited about where this vision just may take us, and I hope that you'll be excited as well. My name is Dwayne Parton, and I'm privileged to serve as the lead pastor here at First United Methodist Church in Graham. Thanks for joining us. And when you see your brothers and sisters from Front Street or First Church or Emmanuel or Elon or Davis Street, be sure to say hello.